We interrupt this programming to bring you some rather disturbing messages.
Welcome back to another episode of Metal Minute! I'm your co-host, Eric Wilmot,
And I'm Bruce Moore. You might know me from the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Oh, come on. We're doing the Metal Minute. Not every band who's ever kicked you out of a concert.
I wouldn't get kicked out if they weren't all sellouts.
Ugh. Gene Simmons of the band Kiss blames insurance costs for the $12,000 price tag on the ultimate Gene Simmons experience.
Is that what he calls sex these days?
What? No. This is to be his personal assistant for the day. You know, kind of like a roadie.
You don't hear me asking people if they're interested in the ultimate Bruce Moore experience, do you? At least not anymore.
It's a chance to hang out with Gene Simmons and the band, help with load-in and sound check, and get an onstage shout-out. Not sex.
I'm just saying, I don't know why anyone would pay $12,000 to have a fling with a member of Kiss. I certainly wouldn't.
Even if that was the deal, which it isn't, he's 75 and married with kids. I don't think you're his type anyway.
Don't doubt my ability to put the X in sex, Eric. I say that Gene Simmons would even pay me $12,000 for the ultimate Bruce experience.
Former Manowar guitarist Ross "The Boss" Friedman said that the re-recordings of their classic albums sound horrible.
Finally, someone agrees with me. They shouldn't have touched those old records. They were classics for a reason.
I've heard you call Manowar pure unadulterated crap on multiple occasions, and now suddenly you're a fan?
I still think that, but at least the originals were classic crap. It's like Disney doing live-action remakes of literally everything.
Hey, you're the one who gets excited every time a new one comes out. Didn't you just buy tickets for Lilo and Stitch?
Oh yeah, we could actually watch the original once we're done talking about Manowar. It's a classic.
Well, maybe I have a date after this.
Uh-huh. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, you're right, I don't. Blackie Lawless says censorship is worse now than it was in the 80s, and called Donald Trump a winner.
Whoa. We're getting political now? I didn't even know we were allowed to do that on this show.
Not necessarily. Censorship in music and politics are two different things.
Isn't censorship in art just another example of compromise?
That's actually a pretty good point.
Remember when Blackie Lawless said he was thinking about running for U.S. Senate? Imagine that. Senator Lawless. Has a certain ring to it.
2 decades ago, I would have called him crazy. But after the last couple years, yeah, I still would.
What's next? Ronald Reagan as president?
What? No, Rick, he already was president. For 2 terms!
Ronald Reagan? The actor?
How do you remember a story about Blackie Lawless from 20 years ago, but you don't remember when Ronald Reagan was president?
I'm way more into music than politics, Eric.
What do you think about censorship?
I think people who complain the most about censorship are the ones who need to be censored themselves.
Well, you're full of surprises today. To be honest, I kind of thought you'd be against it.
Musicians, podcasters, politicians, we're all just trying to tell the truth, right?
Broadly speaking, sure.
If you can't tell the truth without pissing somebody off, you're probably pretty bad at it.
You're smarter than you act sometimes.
Also, on a side note, Blackie Lawless stinks, man, I don't like him.
Yeah, you've told me. A dump truck crashed into the Whiskey A Go Go music venue ahead of a Boy Hits Car concert.
Maybe they mistook it for the Truck Hits Building concert.
Hey, someone could have got hurt, alright? That truck collided with 5 vehicles and a power line.
So much for the concert. Was anybody else performing?
Boy Hits Car, Barefoot in the Bathroom, and Gearheart.
Gerhardt Boy Hits Car Barefoot in the Bathroom. Sounds like a Florida Man headline.
But what would a car be doing in the bathroom?
Who is Gerhardt Boy? Who stands around barefoot in a public bathroom? Some questions just don't have good answers.
I, for one, think it's pretty normal to be barefoot in the bathroom.
As long as it's not a public restroom. No public bathrooms for this guy.
I'm not even going to ask. Ex-Lamb of God drummer Chris Adler says he was fired via email. Quote, "It was devastating to me."
That's why I never check my email. You can't get fired if you don't read the notice.
Chris Adler has to check his email, Rick. It's part of being a working musician.
True professionals decide for themselves how they want to communicate. That's why I only do business over the phone.
I guess I'd rather get fired over the phone instead of email, but still, what a bummer.
I once got fired via skywriting.
Okay, this one I do want to hear.
I was a roadie for Iron Maiden. I thought it would be a great experience for the podcast, but I pissed off Bruce Dickinson.
What did you do?
Let's just say I made too many jokes about his last name.
Brutal. I forgot he had a pilot's license.
Yeah, it was a very rough time for me in the podcast, but I got through it in therapy.
Hope Chris Adler can as well.
All he has to do is stop checking his email. Plain and simple.
Chris Adler described Megadeth's Dave Mustaine as, quote, "the most generous, nicest, kindest guy."
Another Chris Adler?
Well, the last one was kind of a downer. Maybe people want a more positive story.
People don't watch the news for positive stories. They watch the news to be shocked and appalled. And I think that's what podcasts are for.
Well, we aren't really the news, so I can be as positive as I want. Which is why I'm talking about Chris Adler living out his musician's dream.
I try to avoid living out any of my dreams. Most of them involve clowns and chainsaws. Or both.
I think that's another one for your therapist. In a recent interview, Adler described working with Megadeth as a dream come true.
Come on, nobody wants to hear a story like that. Maybe one where Mustaine puts a curse upon Adler's bloodline. Ooh, another screenplay idea.
Adler said he'd been a fan of Megadeth since he was a skater kid listening to cassettes. So much for not meeting your heroes, huh?
The solution to that is being your own hero. Duh. If you're listening to this, kids, start your own podcast and see the money come rolling in.
Hey, podcasting is a lot like music. If you're not enjoying yourself or working with people you like, why even bother?
Because my favorite bands are a bunch of sellout hacks. And somebody needs to tell the world about it.
You wouldn't describe working with any of them as a dream come true?
Not one of them. Being a real fan means hating the things you like.
Well, on that note, this has been the Metal Minute. I'm Eric Wilmot.
I'm Bruce Moore from the Brutally Delicious Podcast. Slide into my DMs for information on the ultimate Bruce Moore experience.